and her shoulders that wasn't there before. She'd check her phone obsessively, jump at any sudden noise, and right in the middle of a conversation, her mind would just drift away to somewhere darker. We started seeing each other whenever we could, as if just being close could somehow shield us from whatever. I'd finish my shift at construction site and then take to Tratras, all the way across Accra, just to meet her after work, waiting outside her huge office building until she came out. We'd eat at these small, local chop bars, places we knew we wouldn't be noticed. They were a world away from the fancy restaurants where wealthy guys like Chidi might go. It was during one of those quiet evenings, about 3 weeks later, that everything just exploded. We were at this modest little restaurant in OSU. It was nothing fancy, just clean tables and really good food. My friend, the one with the glasses, had mixed up 2 measurements, and the whole crew spent an hour building something completely backwards before anyone noticed. She was laughing, this genuine, beautiful laugh that just lit up her whole face. And then her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, and her laughter just died. Her warm, honey-brown skin seemed to go pale, and her hand was shaking as she picked it up. "It's him," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Chidi," he says. "He says he's outside. He knows I'm in here with someone. He says we need to talk, just the 3 of us, like civilized people." My face hardened. "Don't answer," I said, my voice firm. "We'll leave through the back." "There is no back exit," she replied, tied with fear. "Then we go out together," I said, standing up. I wasn't that soft village boy who first came to Accra, scared and unsure of everything. "Kwame," she started, but then stopped herself. "We never used our real names in public. It was a small, but necessary, precaution. He's not just some angry ex. His family has connections, money, powerful lawyers. He could hurt you, your job. He could even hurt your grandmother back home if he decided to dig into your life. Let him try," I shrugged back. My eyes were blazing with a protective anger that even surprised me. I didn't survive leaving my village, working in this heat, sleeping on floors. I stopped. Amara stood up too, her slim frame straightening with a new determination that fought back against her fear. "Okay," she said. "Together, then, but please, please, don't let him provoke you. Don't do anything that gives him power over you, to make it look like he's protecting me from making a mistake." Her soft, manicured fingers were laced with my calloused, were crew-fed ones, outside, part under the entrance, and blocking other cars in a way that just screamed privilege. Was that expensive black Mercedes we'd seen watching her apartment? Leaning against it, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit despite the heavy evening heat, was Chidi. He was handsome in that sharp, angular way you see in magazines, with a perfect haircut and an athletic build that was clearly from hours in a high-end gym. His skin glowed with the kind of health that only money can buy, but his eyes told the real story. They were cold, intense, calculating, and they were fixed on Amara with an obsessive focus that made my skin crawl. "Amara," Chidi said, his voice smooth and cultured, his English perfect. "Finally, I've been trying to reach you. You look wonderful, as always." He barely even glanced at me, like I was a piece of furniture, completely beneath his notice. "Chidi, I have a restraining order against you," Amara said. "You're not supposed to be within 100 meters of me. I'm calling the police." "Please do," he replied, with a smile that never reached his cold eyes. "I'm happy to explain to them that I'm just a concerned fiancé." He finally turned his gaze on me, looking me up and down with pure disdain. "I'm sure the officers would be very interested to hear how a construction worker from some village is manipulating you. What's he after, Amara? Money? A visa? A chance to escape whatever poverty he came from?" "I'm not your fiancé." Amara's voice rose. "I never was." "Not really." She squeezed my hand tighter. "Has shown me more respect and genuine care in 3 months than you did in 2 years. Chidi's practiced smile twitched, and something harder, uglier, took its place. Respect. This, nobody. This laborer. He took a step closer, and I instinctively moved in front of Amara, putting myself between her and him. "Look at yourself, Amara. Look what you've become." "My future is mine to choose," Amara said, stepping out from behind me to face him directly. "Not yours, not my father's, mine. And I choose to be with someone who sees me as an equal, not a possession. An equal." Chidi laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "You think this village boy sees you as an equal? That's enough," I said quietly. My voice was low, but it had an edge of steel I'd learned on the construction site. She told you to leave. The law told you to leave. Now I'm telling you, walk away. Chidi finally focused his full attention on me, his handsome face a mix of amusement and contempt. Or what? You'll fight me. Here, in public, with witnesses. Perfect. I solve problems by standing my ground, I replied, my face calm but my eyes unflinching. Something you're clearly not used to. Women who stand their ground, men who don't bow to your money. The tension stretched between us, so tight it felt like it could snap. Other people from the restaurant had noticed, and were watching. Some even had their phones out. Scenes like this go viral. And even rich powerful men can't control the story once it's online. This isn't over, he said finally, his words aimed at Amara. You're making a huge mistake. Good, Amara said, her voice strong and clear. Don't wait at all. Move on, Chidi. His charming smile returned, but it was cold, dangerous. We'll see. Give it 6 months. He got into his Mercedes and drove away, the engine purring like an expensive cat. I'm sorry, Amara whispered, once the car was gone. I'm so sorry I said those things about you. None of it is true. You know that, right? I know, I said, pulling her into a hug. So what do we do? Her voice muffled against my chest. We don't let him control us with fear, and we trust that what we have is stronger than anything he can throw at us. But as I held her, another thought was forming in my mind. A cold calculation. Chidi had power, money, and connections. But he was also arrogant, and arrogance creates blind spots. I might be a construction worker from a village, with nothing but my integrity and my will, but those are things you can't buy and you can't break. And so the fight between privilege and principle finds a way to win. We were going to need help, we were going to need allies, and I knew exactly where to start. The next morning, the young Ghanaian man, age 22, woke early as always, but didn't go to the construction site. Instead, he went to find the one person in Accra, whose judgment he trusted completely, whose experience navigating the city's dangers had kept him alive for 8 years. His cousin, the muscular Ghanaian man, aged 35, with grey patches at temples. He found him at the usual morning spot, a small chop bar near their Nima neighborhood where construction workers gathered for breakfast, before heading to various sites around the city. The older man was sitting with several other workers, including the Lian wiry Ghanaian, with 2 prominent gold teeth, all of them eating waki and discussing the day's work ahead. Cousin, I need to talk, the young man said, approaching the table. Privately, it's urgent. The muscular man took one look at his face and stood immediately. Take my shift today, he told the lean, wiry man with gold teeth, who nodded understandingly. The workers all young man on his face showed attention. They walked to a quiet corner of the near a small mosque. The morning prayers had just finished, and the area was relatively empty. There, the young man told his older cousin everything about the elegant Ghanaian woman, aged, about the tall Nigerian man, about the conference previous night, about the threats. The muscular man listened without interrupting, his square hard face becoming on eyes, narrowing thoughtfully. When his younger cousin finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I warned you about city women, he finally said, but his voice held no judgment, only concern. But I also saw you, because men like this, Nigerian rich, powerful, they don't just give up. The muscular man with grey temples smiled slightly, gold teeth visible. First, we document everything. Every shows up, every threat, every violation of the restraining order. We build a case family's lawyers can't explain away, ever. Men like that will stage situations to make you look violent or unstable. Always have witnesses. Third, he paused, looking his younger cousin directly in the eye. We make sure your woman understands what she's signing up for. Not to scare her, but to prepare her. Because if this Nigerian is serious about making trouble, it's to get worse before it gets better. She knows. The young man said. She was with him for she knows exactly what he's capable of. Does she know what you're capable of? Older man asked pointedly. Does she know you'll stand by her, even if it cost you your job, savings, maybe even your chance to help your grandmother. Because that's what might happen. Is what you have with her worth that? The muscular man studied his younger cousin for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Hey then, let's talk to some people. I know here in Nimahi mostly does immigration cases and knows the law. We'll see what options you have. And I know a journalist who works for one of the online news sites. If this Nigerian tries anything to public, we make sure the story gets told from your side too. People hate bad publicity. Over the young man and his older cousin built a network. They met with a Ghanaian lawyer working from a small office above a provision shop, who explained and limitations. They connected with a journalist, a young woman who had covered stories about wealthy abusing their power in Ghana. They even reached out to the elegant woman's co-workers, some of whom had witnessed the tall Nigerian man's previous harassment at her office and were willing to provide statements. Meanwhile, the elegant woman was doing her own work. She acted an old university friend who now worked for an international women's rights organization. She documented every phone call, every text message. Every time the tall Nigerian man appeared somewhere she spoke to her company's HR department about the situation, making sure there was an official record. But despite their preparations, despite their alliance, the tall Nigerian man's off guard. He was on the construction site, professional Ghanaian man, age 20, with rectangular glasses measure materials for the next phase building when the aggressive Ghanaian foreman, age 48, with balding gray-black hair, approached with an unusual expression, part anger, part discomfort. You! The foreman barked, pointing at the young man. The young man agreed glance with the professional man in glasses, who looked equally confused, then followed the thick-set foreman to the small as the site office. Inside, standing as if he owned the place, was the tall Nigerian man, age 32, in another expensive tailored suit, this time in navy blue. Beside him was an older Ghanaian man in his 50s, balding, wearing an expensive traditional kente cloth, carrying himself with the authority of someone. This is Mr. Asay, the foreman said, uncomfortably. He's one of the major investors in this. The young man's heart sank. The tall Nigerian man had found out where he worked, and had either bribed or convinced one of the project investors to come with him. This was a power play, using money and influence to corner him at work, where he couldn't walk away. The young man who's been seeing my business, the older Ghanaian investor said, his voice carrying the weight of assumed authority, said, you've been harassing this young woman, threatening her, refusing to leave her alone despite her attempts to end things with you. The young man felt fury rising but forced himself to stay calm, remembering his older cousin's advice about staying controlled. That's a lie. I have witnessed. The tall Nigerian man interrupted smoothly, against my testimony and the testimony of Mara's father, who is very concerned about his daughter has been associating with. The young man felt the ground shift under him. Family is family, the tall Nigerian man replied with that cold, calculating smile. And when I explained to him that his daughter was being manipulated by someone after her money, someone who might even be dangerous, well, he agreed we needed to take steps to protect her. Young man, I don't know the full truth of the situation, and frankly, I don't need to. What I do know is that Chidi here is an important business connection. And if he says there's a problem, I take it seriously. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay. The next 2 weeks were among the hardest of the young Ghanaian man's life, and that was saying something for someone who had already survived his parents. Deaths, his grandmother's illness, leaving his village, and months of brutal construction work. The older Ghanaian investor had been true to his word about black. Every construction site the young man applied to, every project his older cousin, the muscular man with great temples, tried to connect him with, the answer was the same. We're not hiring right now. Doors that should have been open, keys that should have been available, mysteriously vanished. But the tall Nigerian man, age 32, wasn't satisfied with just taking the young man's job. He went further, deeper, through connections and money. The tall Nigerian man had investigators research the young man's background. The village discovered the elderly Ghanaian woman aged 78 who was his grandmother, discovered the small cocoa farm with its debts, and then the threats became specific. It started with phone calls to the village. The jovial Ghanaian man, aged 23, with round cheerful face and colorful shirt, the young man's best friend, called him one evening, sounding frightened. "Brother, strange things are happening here. Men came to the village asking questions about you, about your grandmother's land. They're saying there are disputes, that the farm might be seized for unpaid taxes that don't exist. Your grandmother is very worried, and someone I don't know who has been spreading rumors that you're in trouble in Accra, that you've become a criminal, that you're bringing shame to the family." The young man felt ice in his veins. The tall Nigerian man was going after his elderly grandmother, aged 78, the woman who had sacrificed everything for him. This was no longer about ego or possessiveness. This was calculated cruelty, designed to make a woman aged 24 what was happening. And she was horrified. "We have to stop this," she said, tears in her large, expressive, dark brown eyes. "This has gone too far. I'll go to the embassy, to anyone who will listen." Honest face hardened by new understanding of how power worked. Chidi's family has connections in Lagos and Accra. The police won't move against him without concrete evidence of a crime. And threatening someone's grandmother in a village through intermediaries isn't something they can process. This is how wealthy people fight. They never get their own hands dirty. So what do he can't control? The truth. The young man reached out to the journalist his older cousin had connected him with, a woman who worked for a popular Ghanaian news platform. He told her everything: the elegant woman's escape from an abusive relationship, the tall man's harassment, the threats against his job and family, the way money was being used to terrorize ordinary people. "Prove any of this?" the journalist asked, her pen over her notebook. "I can prove restraining order violations. I have witnesses to the confrontation at the restaurant. There's even video from other diners. I can prove I was fired immediately after he visited my worksite. I can show the pattern of harassment." Elegant woman, who nodded. Amara is willing to go on record about the abuse she suffered and her attempts to escape it. The journalist smiled grimly. Rich men hate being called abusers in public. "The story will run, but be prepared, it'll come back hard. Probably sue. Try to discredit both of you. It's going to get ugly." "It's already ugly," the elegant woman said, her voice steady despite her fear. "At least this way, other people will know what he's really like. Maybe it will help someone else in the future." The article ran 3 days later under the headline, "When Manika Ent by Love, campaign of harassment against and her new partner." It was detailed and damning. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times on social media. Other news outlets picked it up. Women's rights organizations commented on it. People began sharing their own stories of wealthy men using power to control and punish. The tall Nigerian man aged 32's response was exactly what they expected. He hired expensive lawyers who sent threatening letters about defamation. He had PR people release statements, painting himself as a victim of a coordinated attack by ex and her opportunistic new boyfriend. He even got some media outlets to run sympathetic about him. But something unexpected happened. The story struck a nerve with ordinary Ghanaians who are tired of seeing wealthy foreigners. Nigerians, who were often resented for their perceived arrogance and money, throw their weight around in their country. The comment sections filled with support for the young man and elegant woman, with stories of being mistreated by those with more money and power. And the elegant woman's father made his move. He showed up at her office one afternoon. The Ghanaian man aged 56, with graying hair and expensive traditional clothing that the elegant woman had described to the young man. She called, her voice shaking. "He's here. My father. He wants to talk." He's saying, if I don't end things with you, he'll cut me off completely financially, legally, everything. He'll make sure I lose my apartment, everything. He says Chitty's family is important to his business, and I'm jeopardizing deals worth millions. What do you want to do? The young man asked. There was a long pause. In a voice clearer and stronger than he ever heard from her. I want to tell him to choose my own life. But I'm scared. What if he actually does? What if I lose everything? Then you lose everything except what matters most, the young man said. Your freedom, your dignity, your choice. I can't promise you wealth or security. I can't even promise steady work right now. But I can promise you that what happens, we'll face it together. And we'll never become the kind of people who let others That's what I needed to hear, she said. I'll call you back. The conversation with her father, as the elegant woman told it later, was short and brutal. She told him she wouldn't end her relationship to protect his business deals. She told him that his approval of the tall Nigerian man only proved how little he knew about what a good man actually was. She told him that if he wanted to cut her off, that was his choice, but she was done living her life according to his priorities. He left saying she would regret this, that she was throwing away her future, that she was just like her mother, stubborn and foolish and destined to end up with nothing. At night, the elegant woman showed up at the cramped room the young man shared with his muscular, older cousin. She had suitcases with her. My father had the Locke's apartment, she said, her oval face with high cheekbones showing exhaustion and determination in equal measure. It was paid for through his company. So, technically, it's his. I've been effectively evicted. My bank account that he had access has been frozen. Primera vez my card de close in these suitcases, and about 2,000 cedis in cash. I'm officially poor by my previous standards. She looked around the tiny room, at the thin mattress on the floor, at the minimal possessions, at the peeling paint. Is there room for me here? The muscular man with gray temples, who had been sitting on, stood immediately. I'll stay with my friend to take the room. It's not much, the woman interrupted. Her large, expressive, dark brown eyes filled tears. It's more than enough. Because real, no conditions. Oh. Just ... real. The young man pulled her into his arms, feeling her slim, graceful build shake with tears of relief and fear and exhaustion. He met his older cousin's eyes, and saw respect there, mixed with concern. They both knew the coming weeks would be brutal. They both knew that what looked like a romantic gesture now would become a daily struggle of poverty, of watching the elegant Chitty known that it might break her. But in that moment, holding her in that tiny room, in Nima, surrounded by nothing but feeling richer than he'd ever felt, the young man understood something profound. Strength wasn't about muscle, or money, or power. Strength was about choosing what mattered, and holding on to it even when the whole world told you to let go. Until 3 weeks ago, the elegant, 24-year-old Ghanaian woman had never washed her own clothes by hand. She'd never cooked on a single hot plate, never shared a bathroom with a floor full of strangers, and never worried if she had enough money for 3 meals a day.